So there's this guy standing outside Rome in 216 BC. His name is Hannibal Barca. He's just obliterated the largest army Rome ever assembled at a place called Cannae, and he's not moving. His cavalry commander, a Numidian prince named Hannibal, rides up and says, "Sir, Rome is 3 days away. They have no army left. We could be eating grapes in the Senate by Thursday." Hannibal looks at him and goes, "No." "What do you mean, no?" "I mean we wait for reinforcements." "But sir, we are the reinforcements." Hannibal actually says something that becomes famous in our timeline. "You know how to win a victory, Hannibal, but you do not know how to use it." Hannibal just stares at him. Was that supposed to hurt my feelings? A little bit, yeah. Now here's the thing. In our timeline, Hannibal never got those reinforcements. Carthage left him hanging for 15 years in Italy like a friend who says they're 5 minutes away but never shows up. Rome eventually won, conquered the entire Mediterranean, and Carthage got deleted from history so hard that we had to guess where it even was for centuries. But what if Carthage actually picked up the phone? What if they sent ships? What if Hannibal marched on Rome when he actually could have won? Well, buckle up, because this doesn't just change Roman history. This changes literally everything about Western civilization. And Europe as we know it never exists. Let's rewind to 217 BC. After Hannibal crosses the Alps with elephants, which, let's be honest, is the most extra military move in history, Rome is panicking. They've lost 3 major battles. The Senate is having what modern people would call a complete meltdown. But back in Carthage, the government is run by rich merchant families who care more about quarterly profits than military glory. There's this political party called the Barcids, Hannibal's family, and they're basically screaming, "Send ships, send money, send literally anything." The merchants are like, "But have you considered the cost-benefit analysis? Have you considered that Rome is losing?" "Yes, but what about our profit margins?" This enrages Hannibal's brother. The leader of the opposition is a guy named Hanno the Great. Not to be confused with the 50 other guys named Hanno in Carthaginian history, because apparently Carthaginians had 3 names total and just recycled them constantly. This particular Hanno hates the Barcid family with a burning passion. He stands up in the Senate and gives speeches about fiscal responsibility, while Rome is actively getting destroyed. "We must think about the budget," Hanno says. "The budget? Hannibal is winning. But at what cost? That's literally the point of war, Hanno. Here's our turning point. In real history, Hanno successfully blocks aid to Hannibal for years, dooming the war effort. But in our timeline, Hanno chokes on an olive at a banquet in 217 BC. I'm serious. Just a regular Tuesday evening. He's eating appetizers, discussing tax policy, and boom, chokes on an olive. Should we help him? I don't know. He was pretty against emergency spending. Would helping him violate his principles? That's a good point. We should probably form a committee to discuss it. By the time they decide to act, it's too late. Hanno the Great dies. With Hanno gone, the Barcid party takes control of the Senate. They immediately vote to send 30,000 troops, 4,000 cavalry, 40 warships, 20 elephants, and enough supplies to sustain a year-long siege. The resolution passes unanimously. Hannibal gets the message in early 216 BC, right after Cannae. His brother Mago shows up with the reinforcements, and Hannibal actually tears up. "You came," Hannibal says. "Of course we came. Hanno choked on an olive." "What?" "Long story. Involves irony. Also olives. Should we march on Rome now?" "Obviously." Hannibal hasn't stopped glaring at me for 6 months. It's getting uncomfortable. Hannibal overhears this. "I heard that. You were supposed to." The Romans see this massive Carthaginian army marching south, and they do what Romans do best: panic and argue. The Senate meets for 3 days straight. No breaks, no sleep. Just arguing. One guy suggests surrendering. He's immediately thrown out of the building. Literally. They pick him up and toss him into the street. "Wait, I was just out." Another senator says, "Okay, but seriously, should we negotiate terms?" "You literally just said the same thing. Throw him out too." The consul Vero, who somehow survived Cannae despite being responsible for the disaster, stands up and yells, "We are Rome. We do not negotiate." Someone in the back mutters, "We also don't lose battles where we outnumber the enemy, but here we are." Vero spins around. "Who said that?" Everyone looks at their sandals. But here's the problem. Rome has no army. They scraped together 80,000 men for Cannae, and Hannibal killed 50,000 of them in a single afternoon using what military historians call the sickest tactical maneuver ever executed. What they have left are basically teenagers who complain of the heat, old men who can barely walk, and some very confused slaves. The Senate makes a desperate decision. They free the slaves, arm them, and promise them citizenship if they defend Rome. One slave looks at another and says, "Are you serious?" "I think they're serious. They were beating us yesterday and now they want us to die for them, apparently." This is the weirdest Tuesday, but they fight anyway, because Rome has this weird thing where even when they're losing, nobody quits. It's basically national stubbornness as a military doctrine. Hannibal arrives outside Rome in October 216 BC. He sets up siege equipment, builds 3 massive camps, cuts all supply lines. His engineers start constructing siege towers that make the Romans very nervous. One Roman soldier on the wall looks at the towers. Those are big. Yeah, we're in trouble, aren't we? Probably. Then Hannibal sends a message to the Senate. "Surrender and I'll let you keep your city. You just have to acknowledge Carthage as the superior power, pay tribute, disband your army, and give up all territories outside of Latium. Also, I want a statue. A big one." The Senate reads this. They debate for 6 hours. Finally, they send back a one-word reply, written on the most expensive paper they can find. No. Just no. Nothing else. Hannibal reads it and tells Mago, "I respect the confidence, but we're still going to siege them, obviously." I mean, what did they think was going to happen? The siege lasts 8 months. Rome starts eating their horses, then their dogs, then their cats, then rats. People are boiling leather for soup. Someone tries to sell artisanal leather broth and gets punched in the face. A Roman mother tells her son, "Eat your rat. There are starving children in..." Wait, Mom, we are the starving children. Oh, right, still, eat your rat. Finally, in June 215 BC, a group of senators led by a pragmatist named Quintus Fabius, not the famous Fabius, his cousin who everyone forgets about, secretly opens the gates at night. They're starving, the people are dying, and they see no other option. Hannibal walks into Rome. The city that will dominate the Western world for 600 years in our timeline just surrenders. One Carthaginian soldier looks around. That's it? We won? Apparently. I was expecting more. I don't know. Drama. Yeah, me too. Kind of anticlimactic. Hannibal doesn't destroy Rome. He's not stupid. He's read his Thucydides. He knows that occupied cities that get treated well make better allies than smoking ruins. He installs a friendly government led by Roman aristocrats willing to work with Carthage. Think Vichy France. But in 215 BC, he makes Rome a tributary state, which means they pay taxes to Carthage but govern themselves. He leaves a garrison of 5,000 troops under his brother Mago. Mago is not thrilled. Why do I have to stay? Because someone needs to make sure they don't immediately rebel. They're definitely going to rebel. Not immediately though. Fair point. Then Hannibal does something clever. He offers full citizenship to all Italian allies who defected to him during the war. This is huge because Rome's whole power structure was based on these alliances. The new puppet Roman government has to publicly thank Carthage for liberating them from warmongering consuls. The Roman senator reading the speech looks at his notes. Do I really have to say this? Yes. It's humiliating. That's the point. Rome is seething. Every Roman is smiling while plotting revenge. It's going to be a long 50 years. Now here's where history gets really different. Without Rome conquering everyone, the Hellenistic kingdoms survive. In our timeline, Rome systematically destroyed all the successor states of Alexander's empire. But in this timeline, they're still around in 200 BC. The Ptolemaic kingdom controls Egypt and is still running the most advanced economy in the Mediterranean. They've got the Library of Alexandria, sophisticated banking, and grain production that feeds half the region. The Seleucid Empire controls Syria, Mesopotamia, and Persia. They're huge, constantly fighting internal rebellions. But stable enough, the Antigonid kingdom runs Macedon and Greece. They're always training soldiers and arguing about philosophy. The kingdom of Pergamon controls Western Asia Minor and has the second best library after Alexandria. They're very competitive about this. A Pergamene scholar visits Alexandria in 190 BCE. "Your library is impressive," he says. "Thank you. Ours is better, though." "Excuse me?" "I said ours is better. We have more scrolls." "You absolutely do not." "Do too." This argument continues for 3 hours. These kingdoms don't disappear. They adapt. They send ambassadors to Carthage. They sign trade agreements. A Ptolemaic ambassador visits Carthage in 200 BC and tells the Senate, We're prepared to recognize Carthaginian supremacy in the West if you recognize our independence in the East. The Carthaginian senator asks, "What's the catch?" "No catch, just business." "I like you people. You think like merchants. We are merchants. Even better." Meanwhile, Rome is festering. They're a tributary state, humiliated, occupied, and everyone knows it. Around 150 BC, a young Roman politician named Marcus Aurelius, not the famous emperor, just a guy who happens to have the same name, starts giving speeches in the Forum. "Fellow Romans," he says, "we lost because we were unprepared. We relied on citizen militias, farmers who picked up swords once a year. We need a professional army." The crowd goes wild. Finally, someone gets it. But here's the problem. Carthage won't let them build a professional army. That's literally written into the treaty. Section 4, subsection B, no professional military forces. So Rome does what Rome does best when someone tells them no. They do it anyway. They start training civic defense forces. These are definitely not soldiers. They're just citizens who happen to train together every day with weapons, in formations. A Carthaginian inspector shows up in 145 BC. "What's this?" he asks. "Civic defense force," the Roman magistrate says. "They look like soldiers." "Nope, just concerned citizens. They're literally doing military maneuvers, community building exercises. They have swords. For self-defense. Neighborhood watch, basically." Carthage debates what to do. One faction wants to crush Rome immediately and end this obvious violation. Another senator says, "Or, and hear me out, we could just increase the tribute and pretend we don't notice. More money for us. No expensive war." "You know what? I like the way you think. Rome's tribute gets doubled." They're furious, but they pay it. What choice do they have? A Roman senator slams his fist on the table. "This is outrageous." "Yeah, but we're going to pay it anyway, right?" "Obviously, but I'm going to complain about it." Fair. Now let's talk about Europe. Or rather, what's not happening in Europe. Without Roman conquest, Europe never gets Romanized. No Latin administration, no imperial infrastructure, no massive road network connecting everything, no Christianity spreading through Roman organizational systems. Europe in 800 AD looks absolutely nothing like our timeline. In what should be France, you've got a dozen Frankish confederations constantly fighting each other. The Ripuarian Franks in the north, the Salian Franks in the center, the Rhine League cities trying very hard to stay neutral and just trade. A Ripuarian king meets a Salian king in 780 AD. "We should unify," the Salian suggests. "Why?" "I don't know. Seems like something we should do. But then I wouldn't be king anymore." "True. Never mind. Want to fight instead?" "Sure." They fight for 3 hours, nobody really wins, and they both go home. Next year, same thing. In what should be Germany, it's even worse. Dozens of Germanic kingdoms constantly raiding each other. Britain, forget about England existing. You've got Brythonic kingdoms, Anglo-Saxon coastal states, and Norse-influenced ports all constantly at war. They fight for 3 hours, lose 12 men total, and go home for dinner. Next year, same river, same thing. Italy never unifies. Spain is just Celtiberian kingdoms and Phoenician coastal cities. Europe is tribal, fragmented, and poor. It's not secretly waiting to become a superpower. It's just there. Then in 622 AD, Islam emerges in Arabia. The Arab armies explode out like someone kicked over an anthill. They take the Levant, they take Persia, they take Egypt, which is catastrophic for Carthage. Egypt is the grain basket. Losing it means losing food security. A Carthaginian general named Hamilcar meets an Arab commander at the border in 642 AD. "We need terms," Hamilcar says. "What terms?" "We're winning. You're a land power. We control the sea. This could drag on forever," the Arab commander thinks. "You pay tribute. We don't invade Carthage proper." "How much tribute?" "A lot." Carthage signs the treaty in 643 AD. They lose North Africa east of Cyrenaica. It's humiliating. Their aura of invincibility dies overnight. Carthage has always relied on mercenaries, but after the Arab Wars, the mercenaries realize Carthage is vulnerable. In 650 AD, a mercenary commander named Tiberius walks into the Senate. "We want double pay," he says. "Or what? Or we walk. Maybe switch sides." The Senate pays up. This happens again in 680 AD and 710 AD. Finally, in 730 AD, a politician named Hannibal gives a speech. "We can't keep getting extorted. We need a standing army. Conscription. Real military power. Carthage begins reforms. It takes generations and causes riots, but by 900 AD, they have a real military. Carthaginian sailors are the best in the world. In 947 AD, a fleet led by Hanno XXIII gets blown off course by a storm and lands in the Caribbean. When they return 2 years later, half the crew is dead. We found islands, the captain reports, very far west, gold, strange plants. The Senate debates for a year, then authorizes one follow-up. It fails. The third expedition also fails. It takes until 1050 AD before a handful of trading posts exist in the Caribbean. Not colonies, just posts where ships trade and leave. In 1180 AD, a botanist brings back potatoes. Farmers refuse to plant them. Religious leaders call them ungodly. A famine in 1240 AD finally forces adoption. Population growth begins slowly around 1350 AD. Technology advances gradually. From 800 to 1100 AD, water mills, better tools, banking. From 1100 to 1400 AD, workshops, guilds, urban growth. Around 1350 AD, a polymath named Eshmunamon designs flying machines and paints murals. He's this timeline's Leonardo. Printing press, 1380 AD. Books spread. Literacy rises. Early steam engines appear around 1450 AD in mines. Expensive and inefficient. By 1650 AD, some workshops use steam power. Still artisanal. The breakthrough comes around 1750 AD, when improved designs make steam affordable. That's when you get factories and railroads. Why so slow? Without European arms races and colonial competition, there's less pressure to innovate militarily, and war drives rapid tech development. Fast forward to 2025. The Carthaginian nation has evolved. It's now the Confederation of North Africa. Europe, still fragmented. Dozens of small states. Prosperous, but globally irrelevant. Rome still exists. It's basically Portugal. History classes focus on what we could have been. There's a museum called The Lost Empire about alternate history if Rome had won. Tourists call it incredibly depressing, but the gift shop is cool. The global language is Neo-Punic. 7 verb tenses. Sounds like gargling. The Hellenistic kingdoms evolved into modern states. Egypt's back. The Greek Federation controls Asia Minor and the Balkans. Carthaginian Space Agency landed on the moon in 1971. First words. One small step for merchants, one giant leap for profit margins. We can sell moon tours. Nuclear weapons are discovered in 1967. The Confederation invests in trade over military tech. The world wars never happened because everyone's too small and weak to cause a huge war. Disputes get settled through commercial councils. Colonialism happened differently. Trading posts and tributary zones, not settler empires. So one olive did change history. It led to earlier industrialization, slower human rights, more religious tolerance, more economic inequality. The Americas developed differently. Indigenous populations survived. Hybrid cities emerged. Modern Tenochtitlan, Carthago has 45 million people, an incredible fusion cuisine. Hannibal statues everywhere. He's on currency. 37 movies about him. In Rome, a monument says, "We could have won if Carthage hadn't sent reinforcements." They're still bitter 2,200 years later. Sometimes it isn't empires or armies that change history, just something small and innocent like a guy choking on an olive. Speaking of something small and innocent, did you know there was a Christmas truce that temporarily ended a war? What if it ended all wars?